That dude did something for me, brother. I get emotional talking about it, bro. Like, I really needed it at the time. I love to have Katt Williams in it, bro. I ain't seen Katt Williams since I came home, bro. Katt Williams, bro.
Something shifted in the air that night. It wasn't just another celebrity spat. It was a storm that cracked open the wall between Hollywood polish and real-world truth. Steve Harvey, the man millions see as the smiling mentor, the wise talk show father, had finally spoken one sentence too many. And when he did, the real ones, Katt Williams and Lil Boosie, stepped out of the shadows to answer. This wasn't comedy anymore. This was pride, history, and truth colliding. Live, raw, and unfiltered for the entire world to see.
That dude did something for me, brother. I get emotional talking about it, bro. Like, I really needed it at the time.
Be careful when you hear something that's laid out to be the truth. Be righteous and negative at the same time. If you are a righteous man, you will speak as a righteous person.
For decades, Steve Harvey was untouchable. The suits, the smiles, the sermons, all polished to perfection. To fans, he was wisdom in motion. To Hollywood, he was a model of how to climb, survive, and stay clean. But beneath the lights, there were cracks. Katt Williams had been whispering for years that the industry was fake, that the gatekeepers smiled in public and schemed in silence. Boosie, he was the street poet who never bowed to anyone's script. And when Steve went on stage and said, "If these little dudes keep my name in their mouth, I might have to show them how grown men handle things," that was it. One sentence, one spark. The match had been lit. Katt Williams isn't afraid of much. Not studios, not networks, not fame. He's fought harder battles in clubs and courtrooms in his own mind. So when he heard Steve's words, he didn't hide behind PR teams or managers. He went live, alone, calm, surgical, and he said, "Steve, you too old to be threatening folks. You supposed to be wise, not wild." The internet froze. In that single breath, Katt stripped away the Hollywood armor and spoke straight to the soul of the culture. He wasn't just defending himself, he was defending every artist who'd ever been silenced by the system. Every comedian who'd been told to stay quiet or lose their stage. Katt didn't need a suit. He had the truth. And truth speaks louder than a paycheck. While the internet replayed Katt's words a million times, somewhere in Louisiana, Lil Boosie was watching too. He didn't see a comedy beef. He saw a brother under fire. And Boosie don't stay silent when the real ones get attacked. He grabbed his phone, lit a blunt, and went live. His voice cut through the noise like gravel on concrete. Steve Harvey don't scare nobody. He a talk show host, man. Not no street dude. You threatening comedians and rappers cause you mad folks see through the act? You Hollywood now, bro. We real ones. The comments exploded. He said what millions were thinking, what few dared to say. Boosie and Katt weren't ganging up. They were standing up. But to understand why this cut so deep, you have to rewind. Back to the era of the kings of comedy. Steve Harvey, D.L. Hughley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Bernie Mac, four titans, one stage. But behind the laughter, there were rumors, whispers of jealousy and betrayal. Katt Williams had never forgotten what Bernie told him before he died, that some of his own peers didn't want him to shine. And when Katt heard Steve claim he didn't want to be a movie star, he snapped. "That's the same dude who tried to take Bernie's role in Ocean's 11, Katt said. "You ain't turned down nothing. Bernie was the funniest. Always was. Always will be." It wasn't just anger, it was grief disguised as truth. Because Bernie Mac wasn't just a name to them. He was proof that raw talent doesn't need polish to be royal. Steve Harvey didn't throw punches. He threw sermons. He talked about opposition, the devil's work, the haters who twist the truth. He said some people know how to lie so well they sprinkle just enough truth in it. To his fans, it sounded wise. To Katt Williams and Boosie, it sounded defensive. Because when you live in truth, you don't need to explain it. And that's what this entire clash became, a war between explanation and expression, between the polished pulpit and the unfiltered mic. Then came the night that broke the internet. Boosie went live again, smoke circling in the air, his voice low and dangerous. Katt joined from another city, his tone soft but sharp. Boosie started it off. "Steve, stop capping. You ain't no street dude. You a TV man talking about knocking folks out. Man, knock out them weak jokes instead." Katt leaned in. "Brother Steve, you can't knock me out. Not in comedy, not in life, not in spirit. I called you out cause you fake, not cause I hate." The live blew up instantly. Thousands watching, hearts flooding the screen, clips flying across TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. The world wasn't just watching drama, they were watching generations collide. In the hours that followed, the internet divided like an earthquake fault line. Some said Steve Harvey was right, that respect matters, that you don't talk down to an OG. Others said Cat Williams and Boosie finally said what everyone else was scared to, that the gatekeepers have lost touch with the people they claim to represent. Memes flooded timelines. Steve with boxing gloves, Cat with a crown, Boosie with a mic. Tweets read, "The culture versus the corporation." Another, "Steve Harvey talks too much about God to be threatening folks." Every like, every share was a vote. A vote for authenticity. A vote for truth. Steve Harvey never joined the live. He never clapped back directly. Instead, he gave short remarks on his radio show, cryptic, careful, drenched in metaphors about faith and evil. He said, "Sometimes the devil uses the loudest voices to drown out wisdom. But in a world that thrives on transparency, silence doesn't sound strong. It sounds scared." Clips of Steve looking uneasy went viral. His calm demeanor now read like guilt to the public. The man who once owned every stage was suddenly the one being watched, dissected, doubted. Days passed. Boosie doubled down. He said, "Ain't no man gonna threaten me and get away with it. I don't care who you are, comedian, preacher, or president. You say my name, I'm responding." Then he dropped a line that turned into a movement. "These TV dudes think they untouchable because they on camera every day, but we the ones the people really listen to." That hit deeper than any punchline, because it wasn't just about Steve Harvey, Cat Williams, or Boosie. It was about who really owns the mic, the one with the stage or the one with the truth. When you peel away the headlines, you see what this really was, not a feud, but a reflection. Steve represents the era of control, contracts, clean speech, and corporate smiles. Cat and Boosie represent rebellion, unfiltered, unscripted, and raw. Steve believes in gatekeeping. Cat and Boosie believe in breaking the gate entirely. And the people, they're tired. Tired of fake wisdom. Tired of curated morality. Tired of men preaching loyalty while hiding behind networks and scripts. They want energy. They want honesty. They want real. That's why by the end of the week, the internet had already chosen its champions. Not the richest, not the most famous, but the ones who stood their ground. If you look back, this isn't the first time truth clashed with power. It happened when Tupac called out the industry for exploiting pain. It happened when Dave Chappelle walked away from millions to protect his integrity. And now it happened again on live video in real time through the voices of Boosie and Cat Williams. The same message echoed through all of them. You can't threaten what's real. You can only expose yourself trying. Podcasts, gossip blogs, and talk shows picked it apart for weeks. Some painted Cat and Boosie as troublemakers. Others said they were prophets. Even D.L. Hughley jumped in saying this is what happens when grown men stop communicating and start performing. But the audience didn't care about peace. They wanted raw emotion. They wanted truth that bleeds. And that's exactly what they got. Because when Boosie said you can't threaten what's real, he didn't just end a live. He defined an era. Steve Harvey built an empire on discipline, timing, and tone. He's been a stand-up comic, a TV host, a mentor, a mogul. But in trying to be everything, he might have forgotten to be one thing: human. For years, he preached faith, family, and strength. But the moment he threatened others in public, his message cracked. Because the wise don't warn, they guide. And that's what this entire moment revealed. A man trying to protect his legacy in a world that's outgrown the mass. The beauty and the danger of the internet is that it belongs to the people now. Not the networks, not the studios. When a voice rings true, the crowd carries it farther than any channel ever could. Cat's words about integrity, Boosie's call for authenticity. They echoed across feeds, stitched into edits, remixed into podcasts, sampled into songs. This wasn't gossip anymore. It was a message. The people will always choose real over rehearsed. And in that moment, Steve's silence became the loudest sound in the room. Weeks later, the headlines faded, but the message didn't. Every comedian who ever bit their tongue took note. Every rapper who ever got silenced by executives remembered. Cat Williams proved you don't need Hollywood's love to have the people's respect. Boosie showed that street loyalty still carries more weight than studio applause. And Steve Harvey learned that in 2025, wisdom without humility sounds like noise. The internet doesn't follow the most powerful anymore. It follows the most authentic. 3 men, 3 legacies, 1 unforgettable moment. Steve the gatekeeper, Cat the truth teller, Boosie the voice of the people. Together they painted a picture of a culture at war with itself. A culture trying to decide whether fame still means respect or whether respect now belongs to the fearless. And that's why this story mattered. Because every generation needs its wake-up call. This one just happened to come on live stream. As the smoke settles, one truth stands untouched. Authenticity is undefeated. No matter how many cameras you stand in front of, no matter how shiny your reputation is, if the people sense a lie, it all crumbles. Cat Williams once said, "I ain't in Hollywood, I'm in the truth business." And that line might echo for years to come, because the truth doesn't need a network. It doesn't need applause. It just needs courage. Boosie and Cat had that courage, and whether you agree with them or not, they reminded the world of something powerful. That being real still costs something, but it's worth every price. By the end, the verdict wasn't written in headlines or hashtags. It was written in energy. Steve Harvey's empire remained. Cat Williams and Boosie keep speaking, but the culture shifted. A mirror was held up to fame, and it didn't like what it saw. Because this wasn't about jokes. It wasn't about beef. It was about truth. And in that truth, the people saw themselves tired of filters, tired of facades, ready for something real again. So when the lights dim and the clips fade, one sentence still lingers. You can't threaten what's real, because when you try, you only expose what isn't.